I heard that there was something of great importance that happened last night. Anybody pay attention? Oh my goodness. I hope you can say amen like that. I would like to say, Haley, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. Blesses my heart to see her making a difference. So, hey, this morning we've already talked about Advent a little bit. I think it's funny that these kids think these candles are birthday candles. They kind of are, I guess. But anyway, they're not to be blown out, okay? And we're going to have them every week for the next 4 weeks. So please refrain from blowing the candles out. Please. Please. All right, this morning we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 24. Another person I'd like to say that I'm so proud of is Jana. Jana stepped off of a plane about midnight last night and was still here for praise and worship practice this morning. I'm proud of you, Jana. Like, I get a paycheck for being here. You don't. And that's awesome. All right, Matthew chapter 24. Stand with me this morning as we read about the second coming of the Lord. Verse 36, it says this. It says, "Now concerning that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, except the Father alone. As the days of Noah were, so the coming of the Son of Man will be. For in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day Noah boarded the ark. They didn't know until the flood came and swept them all away. This is what the coming of the Son of Man will be. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one left. 2 women will be grinding grain with a hand mill, one will be taken and one left. Therefore, be alert." Say, be alert. Be alert. Oh, you can do it better than that. Be alert. Be alert. Okay. "Since you do not know what day your Lord is coming. But know this, if the homeowner had known what time the thief was coming, he would have stayed alert and not let his house be broken into. This is why you are also to be ready, because the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect." Amen. Please greet your neighbor, be seated. Advent has always been this season. Last week I talked about how sometimes trees and our hearts lean toward God. Well, Advent is the season that we lean into, we lean forward to His second coming. We light these candles this morning not because we like tradition, but because we are proclaiming something that is incredibly scandalous. And that is that the darkness will not win. The darkness will not win. It has no power over this. Christ came once in humility, but here's the thing. He will come again in glory. It's not a hope He comes. It's not a He might come if the circumstances are just right. Friends, I want you to know He will come again in glory. Here's the truth, though. In the world that we live, if we're really honest with ourselves, the Advent, this season of Advent, meets us at a time when the world is yawning. And here's where I'm scared I'm going to start losing people to yawns and eyes closing. But the world is kind of yawning. It's nodding away. It's nodding off. In the culture, it's lulled to sleep by all sorts of things. Consumerism is one of them. There's a message that's put out there. If you buy, you will be a better person. If you buy, you will feel better about yourself. If you buy, people will like you better. Or it might be busyness. Some of us are just addicted to busyness. We love being busy. So you've got this message of consumerism, you've got this message of busyness, and can I just say that we are a people that is so distracted. Distractions come in every form. They're all around us. There was a day and a time when life was much easier. It was less complicated. There were not so many distractions, but that is not the day that we live in. And then we also are lulled to sleep by comfort. We love creature comforts. We love making our life comfortable. And Jesus' words here in Matthew chapter 24, they're kind of like a jolt of cold water being thrown on you. Now, if any of you fall asleep this morning, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to throw cold water on you while I'm preaching. It's not true. But whenever I was a youth pastor, I kept a water pistol under my little podium. And if I saw kids falling asleep, I'd shoot them while I was sleeping, or while they were sleeping. But why do we emphasize Advent here at the Open Church? It's because Advent is the church's wake-up call. It's their annual wake-up call. Advent, it's not just somber dread, but it's a hopeful anticipation. It's when the church says this, that we know how the story ends. We know how the story is going to end. In Advent, it's our reminder that even though the world may nod off, us as the followers of Jesus, we shouldn't do that. Kara and I had a lady in our life one time named Sister Vicky, and she was the lady that was over the praise and worship at the church that we were at. And she had a saying. She said, "While others may, you may not." You're in leadership. You may not do everything that the other people do. Well, when the church nods off, or not when the church, when the world nods off, we can't do that. We have to stay awake. So let's walk through this morning these words. And I want you to see these words in Matthew chapter 24, how they are for our moment right now. The first thing I want you to know is that let's look at the waiting and the mystery of divine timing. Jesus, he begins with this humbling statement. He says, "Now concerning that day, an hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, except the Father alone." I find it interesting that Jesus refuses to satisfy their curiosity. He refuses to satisfy our curiosity. Now, in our family, we have this silly little game that's not really a formal game, but if I tell everybody to get in the van, that I'm hungry and I want to go eat, we get in the van and we start driving down the road. And either Tucker or Wyatt will start with, "Where are we going?" "Where are we going, Dad?" "I bet I know where you're going. I bet you're going to Olive Garden." "No, he's not going to Olive Garden. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like that." "Well, I bet he's going to Texas Roadhouse." And we go through 15 different places and based on the roads that I turn on, and I may have been guilty of taking the wrong road or the long way just to throw them off at times. But we play this game, we're guessing, and Jesus, he doesn't use charts, he doesn't use graphs. Back in my childhood, I remember when people were trying to discuss about the coming of the Lord, you would have people come in and they would have a graph from one side of the sanctuary to the other side of the sanctuary, trying to outline exactly how things are going to happen. Well, here's the thing, we don't really know how things are going to happen. We have ideas. We have valuable guesses, but we don't actually know. But I can't tell you how many seminars I've sat in with charts and graphs that have stretched from one side of the platform to the other, talking about the return of the Lord. Well, here's the thing. The Father's timing is perfect. The Father's timing is perfect even when it's hidden. And I want you to see something this morning. I want you to see that waiting requires humility. Waiting requires humility because it forces us to surrender control. We are not in charge. The human heart, what do we want? Well, we want certainty. We want predictability. We want answers right now. I want a FAQ page, and I want to have everything outlined in that FAQ page. We like the predictability. We like to know what's going on, but that is not what discipleship looks like. Discipleship, it often looks like we're saying to the Lord, Lord, I don't know, but I trust you even though I don't know when. That's what discipleship looks like. Waiting becomes worship whenever it becomes trust in Him. I'm going to say that again. Waiting becomes worship whenever it is trust. And Advent gives us this posture. It trains us in this exact posture. We relive. We sang a song, O come, Emmanuel, just a few minutes ago. But at this posture of Advent, we relive that long ache that Israel had for its coming Messiah. We relive that. They longed for His return. Well, you and I, we wait, and we wait not passively, but we wait with hearts that are leaning toward the coming King. Now, I imagine every one of you in here have had to wait on someone special. Maybe, now, I got to tell you, before I came to an international church, you go to an American church, people take long weekends when they travel. I did not expect that whenever people went home, they would go home for a month at a time. And I've seen in just my short 3 years here at the Open Church, a spouse will go back to Korea, or a spouse will go somewhere else. And then there's one spouse that's here all alone. That reunion, that time of waiting, I can't wait until he comes home, or I can't wait until she comes home. We probably all understand that. We've all seen the videos of a child that is at school. Maybe she's a cheerleader, and she's doing her cheers in a game, and her father, who has been in war, comes to the school, and he's dressed in his military fatigues, and he sneaks in behind the child, and everybody else is in on this. And then the daughter turns around and she sees her dad that she hasn't seen in 15 months and 18 months, and that time of reunion, it's filled with so much joy. Have you seen those videos? The reunion videos like that? They're amazing. I love it. That kind of expectancy, that kind of joy is what Advent teaches us. He's coming, and we're waiting in anticipation for His arrival. So first, we see that there was the waiting and the mystery of divine timing. Secondly, he gives us a warning from the past. Jesus, he points back to the days of Noah. In the days of Noah, people, they were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were having a good time. They were just living normal life. There was nothing dramatic. There was nothing alarming that was going on. But then judgment came suddenly. The issue was not outrageous wickedness, but the deeper issue was indifference, complacency. It was a group of people that had, their whole generation had fallen asleep spiritually. And I want you to see that in this passage here that Jesus is not aiming this warning at a rebellious outsider. He's speaking to the comfortable insider. He's speaking to the people that are His people. The ones who assume that all is well, the ones who settle in and they stop paying attention, the ones who drift, the ones who go through their life living on autopilot. That's who Jesus is talking about. And he gives this sobering image of two people in the field. He says, one is taken, one is left. Two people grinding grain. One is taken, one is left. And the point that he gives here, it's not the mechanics or the math of any of that. It's not, it's the division. Jesus will come, and his coming will expose those who are not ready. Do you believe Jesus is coming? Here's what I want to make clear this morning, church. This is a warning for us today, because you and I live in a world that drifts. We're constantly drifting. Here's the thing, in America and in a lot of places of the world, now I know this isn't true in Nigeria and other places like Saudi Arabia, places like that, but in America and in the places that we live, our age is not fiercely hostile toward Jesus. It's distracted from Jesus. We don't face great opposition just because we follow Jesus. But man, it's easy to get distracted. And the enemy does not always need to attack. He will not necessarily need to attack us if he can simply lull us to sleep. Now, I'm going to hit close to home here with some people, okay? Just know that your pastor loves you whenever I'm saying this. How do we get distracted? Well, we amuse ourselves to sleep. Entertainment is not evil, but whenever it becomes a constant drip, like the drip of an anesthetic, what it does is it numbs us. It numbs our spirit. What do? We unwind with shows. We unwind with reels. We unwind with notifications of this and that. And what happens is they unwind our spiritual alertness over time. What starts as rest for us becomes our sedative. We schedule ourselves to sleep. Our calendars are completely full and running over while our hearts grow dull. We confuse busyness in our life with purpose. Busyness does not mean anything other than you're busy. It is not necessarily all purpose, but what seems to be the outcome of this is that the more crowded our lives become, the fainter the voice of Jesus becomes in our life. We scroll ourselves to sleep, and I'm preaching to Pastor Paul this morning. We scroll ourselves to sleep. That device in our hand becomes a pacifier to the restless soul. The minutes that we start out turn into hours, and we don't even notice that much time has gone by. And we trade our spiritual alertness for these small bursts of distraction. In church, I want you to know that when life feels predictable and whenever it feels pleasant, that's often the times that we stop longing for the returning of Christ. But here's the thing, biblical hope, it has never rested in the present comfort. It rests in the coming kingdom that Jesus talks about. That's why these words of Jesus that he gives in Matthew chapter 24, they strike like an alarm clock. They jolt us. He's not trying to scare us. He's trying to wake us up. So what happens here? This is why we celebrate Advent. This is what the season of Advent does. It rings that alarm once again for us. That Christ is coming. He's coming. The King is near. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Live your life ready. The third thing that I see here from verses 42 through 44 is that he commands us to be watching. He moves from a warning to a command. The language changes here. It goes from warning to command. He says, therefore, be alert. Be alert. He's not calling us to anxiety. He's not calling us to paranoia. It's not what he's doing. He's calling us to be wakeful. He's calling us to live our life with our eyes wide open. He's calling us to have our hearts that are engaged, not just pacified, but engaged. He's calling us to live a life that is full of hope and fully alive. I want you to know something, that when we talk about watchfulness, that watchfulness is not fear. It's just faith that refuses to drift. Why does Jesus give us this command? Jesus says, you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Well, ignorance of timing on our part, it's not an excuse. It's not a prescription for us to just relax. It's the very reason that we should live our life ready. Ready. If we knew the date, if we knew the time, you know what we would do as humans? We would wait until the last minute to get right. We would wait. I don't know the amount of times whenever I was a child or a teenager, I had something due at school on Monday. And I told that lady with white hair back there about it Sunday night. A big science project or a history project or something like that. Sunday night, 8:30. Oh, I've got something due tomorrow morning. Well, have you read any books? No. That's just our nature. We like to wait. We like to put things off. We like to do that. So if God said, December 1st, 2026, I'm coming back, we would have partied like it's 1999 up until today. But here's the thing, because that day is hidden from us, every day becomes a day for you and I to walk with Jesus. Jesus gives this illustration of a homeowner. He says if the homeowner knew when a thief planned to break in, he would stay awake. Well, Jesus is not comparing himself to a thief in character. Jesus isn't saying, I'm going to break into your house and take your silverware and take your pictures and all of that. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, it's going to be like a thief in the suddenness of my coming. His return is going to interrupt ordinary life. And those who are spiritually asleep will be shocked by the moment that they could have been prepared for. Jesus, he says to them, he says, you must also be ready. Can I just tell you this morning that readiness is not dread, but it's alignment. It's the ordering of our life in the hope of his return. So what does that readiness look like? It looks like a heart that's repentant. It looks like a heart that's tender. It looks like a life that is in pursuit of holiness. Readiness looks like relationships that are shaped by forgiveness, relationships that are shaped by love. Readiness looks like a faith that's awake, a heart that's hungry, people that are hopeful. And readiness is a desire to walk daily in the Spirit. Haram, if you'll come back. Readiness, it's not perfection. None of us are perfect. Not this one that's preaching, not the one that will preach the next hour. As awesome as Haram is, Haram's not perfect. My wife is close, but she's not perfect. She doesn't like my jokes. But readiness, it's not perfection. No, it's direction. It's the steady movement of our life that's pointed toward Jesus. So, Advent reminds us of this great tension that we live in. And I wanted to bring a rope in and have Andrew on this side and Tucker on this side and then begin to pull the rope. All of us have seen tug of wars before. That's a picture of Advent right there, because what happens, Christ came once. He came in the quietness of Bethlehem. But Christ will also come again in the glory of the skies. One of those times he arrived in humility. In one of these times, he's going to arrive in majesty. One of these times was to save, and one of these times is to judge and restore. And where do you and I live? We live right in the middle. That's our address, right in the middle. We're in the middle of that tension. We are the people that are waiting. We're waiting in hope. So when the world nods off, and you've done good this morning, church. I've only seen 2 or 3 of you nodding off. But when the world nods off, the church needs to make sure that she wakes up. When the culture of our day drifts, we're the disciples and we need to stay ready. You see, when others settle, we prepare our hearts. And whenever many others forget what's going on, it's our time to remember. Remember that when life grows loud, it's our chance to lean into Him even closer. Because can I just tell you, there is so much noise and distraction out here. So it's time for us to get close to Him. Because our King is coming. He's coming, church. Not as an idea, it's a reality. Jesus is coming. It's a reality. Not someday in the vague future, but there is a moment that God has already put on His calendar. And we don't know the day or the hour. It's a moment that has been set in the Father's heart. Jesus will return. And when He comes, because I promise you, He's coming, I pray that He finds us awake. I pray that He finds us alive and He finds us longing for His appearing. So that's our hope. That's our calling, church. We need to lift our heads and be ready. Amen. I'm out of time. Let's stand together and pray. I hope that you'll carry this reality with you this week, that Jesus is coming. Let's bow our heads this morning.